Joshua Vial and Susan Basterfield from Enspiral. So glad to be here with you. We just finished the Agile People Sweden conference for this year. And I'm so glad that you could come and participate and talk, and it was really great, I think. Before jumping in, talking a bit more about the conference and the theme there, just to introduce you a bit, I'm so lucky that you were able to come. Susan, I met you last year, but I hadn't met Joshua, and I think it's kind of been a vision for me since 2012 when I first heard of you and Enspiral, and I think I saw some video of you talking a bit about how you created Enspiral, and it was really inspiring. So finally, after kind of 5 years and hosting conference 5 years, I got the opportunity to invite you to speak. So really great to be talking with you today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us.
Great. So maybe Joshua could just mention shortly like how you got started with Enspiral and what is Enspiral?
Yeah, so I'm a programmer, and I was doing freelance work for a couple of years, really focused on how to change the world and sort of climate change and global poverty. And I wanted to work with more people who had similar values. So I shifted Enspiral, which was my personal consulting company at the time, to become a collective vehicle to help freelancers work on more stuff that matters. And so we did that for a few years, and then we transitioned from being a freelancers collective to being a collective of entrepreneurs who started trying to build businesses for social impact. And this was sort of like 2012, 2013 we made the transition. It was 2010 when we started the Freelancers Cooperative, and we've just been experimenting with using the tools of business for social change and decentralized organizing and so on since then.
Great. And Susan, when did you join?
So I've been hanging around Enspiral for a couple of years now, but I had a very different career experience. So I spent 25 years in senior leadership positions in traditional organizations like IBM and Telstra and Vodafone. And over the course of, I like to think of myself as a slow learner, because even though I felt like I was always able to make sort of incremental change or have an impact within the silo that I was operating, I reached a point where that wasn't enough for me anymore. I'm really grateful that there's still a lot of people out in the world doing that. But then the thought of doing something on my own was actually quite terrifying. So thankfully, a common friend of ours, Doug Kirkpatrick, I was having a chat with him, and he's based in the US, and he said, Susan, you're in New Zealand and Spiral's in New Zealand, why aren't you collaborating? And so he was actually the spark to get me involved with Enspiral. So that's how my journey kind of transpired.
For those who don't know, Doug Kirkpatrick is one of the regional members of Morningstar,
and the Self-Management Institute, and one of the case studies featured in Reinventing Organizations, which I think for a lot of us in this movement was kind of a real inspiration and kind of a seminal moment in kind of the direction, the potential of, Reinventing Organizations has taken us.
Yeah. And like you said, the Inspired purpose is doing stuff that matters, or?
Yeah, one of the key, I guess, theories of change is that when you look at the scale of global issues and the amount of problems that we face, and I guess the amount of work that needs doing, it can be pretty intimidating. And the idea of what we really need is just more people spending all of their careers trying to make the world a better place. Because I think for many people, they'd like to be doing more impactful work, but we often compromise because of the realities of the job market. And it's often quite hard to get paid well doing something you love that has an impact on an issue you care about. And so we just wanted to see more people having that opportunity.
And I love the fact that Enspiral is not opinionated about what that work is. So we've got contributors working on climate change and free press and direct democracy and
self-management, healthcare. It's quite varied.
Building software. All kinds of different things.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And I think here at CRISP we are mainly working in the Agile community with development and coaching, but as I mentioned, we have some new kind of initiatives like the CRISP Climate CRISPlet, which is a kind of subgroup of CRISP that now is open, so it's spreading with members all over the world working to reduce climate change. So in that sense, there's a lot of things that can emerge when you have the opportunity to do more good.
It's interesting. I mean, we had the privilege of meeting last year, and I remember even from the first moment of communicating with you, it almost felt like we were kind of separated at birth.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to discover, you know, on the farthest parts of the globe that we can be from each other, these same impulses are happening in geographies that are so far away. That makes me feel great and gives me hope.
Yeah.
I think there's, it was maybe Paul Hawken who used the phrase Earth's immune response. And I think that there's a sense of many people can observe the same situation globally, and they kind of take a very logical choice, which is, I guess I want to do something about it.
Yeah.
You know, I can't fix everything, but maybe I can do a little bit. And I bump into people like that all the time. And there's very often a very quick sense of resonance of just after a brief conversation, it's, oh, yep, we're on the same page, and how can I help you? And it's just but I think that response of just a community of peers who can help each other to do their best work, that was the hope of Enspiral, and it still is.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, one of the first videos I saw with you was that you talked about how you had kind of just asking people questions, what's your passion and how can I help you, right?
Absolutely, and I found that in the world of business, we've often been quite conditioned for people wanting to take from us. Like if you think about the number of advertising messages you've seen in your lifetime, where yes, they want to give you something, but really they just want to take. And the giving is just so they can take with your consent. And I think that when you actively show up and say, oh, if you're trying to fix climate change, I kind of just want you to succeed. And if I can help you do that better, that's a very good way for me to spend my time. And when a lot of people have that attitude with each other in the outside world, that sort of gift economy or generosity economy, I think is tremendously powerful. It's also tremendously refreshing in the commercial space, and I found that we got a lot of cut through approaching commercial transactions with the sense of we just want you to succeed. And that was, it's been fun.
Yeah, and this goes back, I mean, both Enspiral and Crisp, we have published all how we work, right? So we have your handbook and we have our DNA kind of sharing and want to spread it as much as possible.
I love, Joshua, you said this the other day, and I haven't heard you say it in quite this way, but it's so simple. As we're researchers, and what do researchers do? Researchers publish. So I think that's a really important similarity.
That's true. Yeah.
For me, some of that was from the reasoning about if I imagine my life and my career and doing the best work I can individually, I'll have X amount of impact. If I help a whole bunch of people and say, I'm going to spend a third of my time just helping other people succeed, as well as doing stuff that I want to try and do, I'm going to have more impact. But I think the even bigger impact is when all of us are trying new things, and whenever we find something new that we're excited about and we spend the time and the energy to write it up, to make the videos, to go and travel and to share it with others, then people can copy it much more, and then I think we can have a much bigger impact. So that whole idea of helping other people build upon your best work, I think is a really powerful position to take as a change maker.
I love our friend Alana Irving has this phrase, if it's not documented, it's not open source.
That's